get to Hi, welcome to my channel. You may have noticed a lot of your favorite content creators, YouTubers, myself included, taking a break from shopping, having low buy months or even no buy months or even no buy years at this point, because I've seen it for about a year now. I noticed about a year ago, hi, I'm Maria, the Maria Fadi on all social media platforms. A lot of creators started mentioning a lot of like going on a no buy month, not spending that much and things like that. Mind you, these are creators in the luxury space. These are, our known creators, this, that, and the other, who are really doing very well, mind you. Why did they need a no buy month? Was it because the addiction of spending, which is very true and valid thing? Like, that's obviously one of the reasons why myself, I'm trying to stop that, to not build that addiction, but also money. A big one. And I started to think there is a pattern here with the trend that's going on, not just in the fashion space, but particularly in the luxury fashion space, which you've noticed recently. It's the same across the board, and not just for the content creators, because, let's be real, content creators do tend to have more of a mass consumption, because either you get a lot of stuff or you buy a lot of stuff, because that's kind of like part of the game. It doesn't mean it needs to be, but that's kind of is the typical part of the game. Talking to my sister-in-law, who mentioned that she was doing the same thing of not buying anything for the next, few months until March. And I said, yeah, that was my goal too. And so I had kind of been building this picture for a while, because I noticed that, with terms like inflation, recession, rising, home rate, consumer spending in general has slowed down. Across the board, just in general. Typically, when the new year comes around, all of people's spending kind of tapers off, because people are on their like no spend months, or like they're trying to save, or they have New Year resolutions. The typical norm, because obviously all the spending has been done before the new year for all of the festivities and holidays and all of that stuff. So when the new year comes around, most people tend to spend less anyway. But the luxury niche was on a rise. It was gaining profit year after year, regardless of the times, just steadily since 2020. Obviously, 2020, the world closed down and no one was out spending any money. Everybody was home. Since 2020, there's been this huge boom for luxury goods, which was very unprecedented, because of course, this was happening mostly with the middle class. But it was because of that wealth that we just talked about that was accumulated at that time when we were sitting home. And we realized, I think, maybe life is too precious. Let me spend this money where I want to spend it. So I think that was part of that factor. I'll definitely say that's some of mine, but I've seen that echoed across the board. But that led to an increase of people going into a lot of luxury goods in 2021, 22, and some of 2023. But in 2023, things started to change. And I noticed a lot of big luxury content creators who would typically be buying and spending and stuff, start to go on no spend. So I was recently on, and I have it in front of me here. So I was recently on Business of Fashion, and I saw that Macy's was going to cut like 2,000 jobs. Now, mind you, Amazon recently got some news in tech go through again of more cuts in jobs. So if physical stores are closing, we're seeing cuts in jobs in the process. So it's creating a catch-22 effect, because the customers that are supposed to buy the goods aren't working or able to work, or it's what we're calling with the inflation, where it's like, yes, you are getting paid what you were getting paid before, but rent is more expensive and the cost of living is more expensive. Groceries are more expensive. So the money obviously doesn't go as far. We're in this time of a recession. It's been dubbed a recession. We've been in it for a minute. Lots of people are either losing their jobs. The money isn't going far, like we just said. The increase in everything from groceries to homes to taxes to the cost of living is disproportionate to the paycheck that we're all getting. The average American consumer is not able to buy and use at the rate that we were able to, like I said, after 2021 to 2023 period. Think early 2023. So stores are either closing up due to profit losses, or they are merging in order to save themselves. So all of this is due to consumer not being able to buy the products that they are selling. But the consumer can't buy the products because they don't have the jobs, or the money that they're making isn't going as far enough to buy it. So yeah, catch 22. Now, I mentioned something recently. I just said that a lot of companies are merging to save themselves. The trend of fashion consolidation, like where they merge and it becomes these big conglomerates, like I said, is is starting to mirror that of LVMH in Europe. LVMH is one of the biggest fashion houses right now, luxury fashion houses, I would say. They're a mega fashion brand, and they've aggressively like expanded. The funny thing, or maybe not that funny, but it is a family-run business, which is very fascinating. I believe the son of Bernard Arnault. Let me read this to you. This is from Reuters. So the chairman and CEO Bernard Arnault's 5 children have been moving up the rank of the luxury empire. All of them hold top management roles in the company. Family-run business. Now, these are recent appointments because there was a lot of boom and growth and mergers and acquisitions. But that's literally what we're talking about right now. We've seen that LVMH is this family-run business. They've been acquiring and merging for quite some time recently due to the profits that they've seen. So we now see companies like Tapestry, which is another conglomerate, although I don't believe this one is family run, but Tapestry is doing the same thing where they're acquiring companies, and they have companies that we all know of. They have the Kate Spade New York, the Stuart Weitzman, they got the Coaches, the big ones that you'd always think. Those are now starting to happen here in the States as well because it's doing so well for LVMH. It's doing so well for so many companies at this point, right? It makes sense to consolidate your losses and just put it together in one basket and go ahead as one big company, right? So a lot of companies are doing that in order to save themselves because, again, they're not seeing the profit that they thought they would see, and it's just better to merge with someone else than lose the whole company altogether, right? I would do the same, you would do the same, and that's what they're doing. So I think there will always be a market for luxury as long as we're alive because, there's always that need for us to look like what we see on TV or what we see in magazines, or to look a little bit wealthy, or to wear that jacket we saw, or, the shoes always were our hopeful dream shoes, or, I remember seeing this when I was that age, whatever it may be. We all have this one innate thing like, oh, it's nice. And I do think there was a time when with luxury, you did get quality, but that is not necessarily the guarantee anymore. And I think that's why this acquisitions and mergers that you see a lot of times comes with lower quality products or inferior quality products at the end of the day. It is maybe a rumor or not, but the rumor is the Loewe Edge, the puzzle edge, which I actually have a review for, so don't forget to go check that out. But the puzzle edge, the new version where all the edge pieces kind of are melding together, Loewe was acquired by LVMH, and the rumor on the mill is that was done to save time and money. Clearly, because at the end of the day, it's about profit. So, the other puzzle pieces take longer to make than this other puzzle bag. And, you're able to get away with shorter time of production, meaning that you have more of a profit because you're able to make more in less time. And again, like I said, this is a rumor. So there will always be a market for luxury, in my opinion, because, whether it's people wanting to look wealthier, or you just want to boast, or maybe it's even more innocent where it's the idea that luxury items typically or are expected to have, quality material, quality leather, quality this, that, and the other, right? The individual debt for the average American is at an all-time high right now. So I think that is part of why we are seeing this trend. I don't think a lot of the influencers are immune to their debt either, myself included. And that is my goal for 2024. To reduce my debt and hopefully buy a house eventually, right? Reduce my debt, put down payment for a house. You can't do those things without being very wise with your money, without budgeting where your money is going to go. The luxury good world is part of the fashion world, obviously. And I think as humans, as we are moving towards this awareness, because we are in the age of information, as we're moving towards awareness and sustainability, and like I mentioned, the idea is that luxury goods are supposed to have quality materials, right? So with quality materials, they're supposed to last for a long time. At least that is the hope. We're not seeing that across the board. The idea or the concept of buying something that's luxurious or a luxury good or something that's supposed to be a good quality and obviously is priced at this luxury price point, you would ideally hope that it's sustainable. It lasts you for a long time and you're able to pass it down to somebody. So the departure from fast fashion, which was huge, and I don't think fast fashion is going anywhere. I was actually having this conversation with my husband because he was like, I think it's getting like fast fashion is going to go away. And I hope it does, but it's been around for such a long time. And I do think at the end of the day, there will always be people who cannot afford to buy $100 jacket just because I won't have to buy another jacket for 2 or 3 years. There have been times when I've been broke and I could not afford that $100 jacket myself. So why would I put that expectation on someone who can afford it? Sometimes, maybe thrifting could help, of course, but thrifting is also becoming more expensive now, right? Because people are literally thrifting to sell on Poshmark. And then, and we're seeing all these thrift hauls and all these things like that. So the price of thrifting and thrifted goods are now going higher too. So it's becoming less affordable. It's kind of a contradictory thing, but in a sense, again, you can still go thrifting. It's still one of the best choices to do when it comes to trying to save money. But I think a lot of people will still buy from cheap sites because that is what the budget affords them to be able to buy. They can buy what the money can afford them to buy. And I'm not going to say that that's not right or anything, because that's just I think as we departed from this overconsumption, or just really realizing the impact of fast fashion in the recent years, especially with, like I said, with awareness and social media and things like that, we've now seen the luxury industry take advantage of that in a way. And bear with me, like I said, we had more of a disposable income after 2020. So we were able to actually spend that money. And the luxury brand really preyed on the typical American because their quality actually, for the quality of a lot of the luxury items that we're buying or have been quoted, are not what they were before. So what the ideal of what quality or luxury was back, 5, 10, 15 years ago isn't what we even see today anymore. If you go on the Chanel Reddit, you will see so many women who talk about how the Chanel they had from 20, 25 years ago holds up more than the one they bought within a year, or this, that, and the other. I remember, I think there was a TikToker who was showing a Chanel bag when she went into the store. It was a Chanel flat bag, and the construction of the bag was so bad that you would not expect that this was a maybe $4,000 to $10,000 bag. I think, the luxury brands really preyed on that aspect, knowing that, hey, they don't really know what they're getting, so we'll just give them whatever. And it's gotten progressively worse. I mean, not for all brands, but across the board, because they're they're merging. They're trying to make as much of a profit because they weren't able to make it individually. So they're making as much of a profit in as little time as possible. What happens? That's going to come out of something. It's either going to come out of the wages of the workers, or it's going to come out of the quality of the product, or both. But at the end of the day, the luxury industry is still valued at $242 billion and expected, like I said, to grow. I'm going to read this right now. It's expected to grow 5.4% according to CNBC. So I really don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, like I mentioned. But at the end of the day, it slowed down so significantly that it's whoa, this is an indicator of things that are happening, not just the fashion world, on even a global scale, that it's impacting the profits of these companies that thought they were invincible. So you may have seen an uptick or a recent trend with a lot of these luxury brands, like I mentioned, where there's been a lot of sales. I know that Net-a-Porter had a sale recently where it was about 20 to 30% off. You see that across the board at Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf Goodman, Saks. And a lot of the times, luxury brands are having a surplus of the items that they've obviously made, selling it at a discounted price, obviously, so they can still make some kind of profit. Okay? At the end of the day, it's always down to the profits. But there's something else that also happens. If they're not able to sell it, what they do is that they will destroy it. And I believe it was in France that they passed a law that stated that luxury brands could not destroy items that they could not sell and make some profit off of. It was illegal to do that because it was not sustainable. They were willing to cut up and destroy a bag that did not sell, which leads you to the question, if something is so valuable and so important, made so well, why would you cut it up? Why would you cut it up? If it's just store it. Eventually you'll sell, right? Because you believe in the value of this thing that you're selling. Why not sell it at an even deeper discount? Why not sell it at a deeper discount? But because it still depends on exclusivity, and depends on the idea that, yes, we can give it at a discount, but to still make it not that accessible. But of course, I really can't ignore the concept that there are some luxury goods that will appreciate over time. We've all seen the Hermeses and the Chanels, and they keep rising in prices. The Lady Dior's keep rising in prices. Things like that. Rolex is rising prices. Kind of across the board. I know that with watches, again, with luxury goods in general, resales and all of that, it slowed, which was a big indicator because it wasn't just in the luxury market, but the luxury retail market even slowed so much so that people were like, wait a minute, it's really affecting everything across the board. But overall, there are still luxury items that clearly sell for more than when you bought it for. I just listed a couple of them. And to be honest, I don't know if the new Chanels, for example, are going to have the same value as old Chanels older Chanels, because like I said, if the quality is not as great now, what's to give it value? Maybe the name is valuable enough. And I think that's obviously part of why we're talking about all of these brands in general. But I think at the end of the day, it is about the quality and the material. I know obviously material matters in these bags and goods that you may purchase. Clearly, I still want to see how the new Chanels and the new bags that are being made and the new, cheaper quality items that are being made by these luxury brands are going to be valued in a couple of years. I think, it's kind of like that real estate thing where it's like the best time to buy was when I was a child. I think that might be one of those situations, but we will see. Like I said, maybe the name is strong enough to hold the company through, but in my opinion, that's to be seen. I definitely see a lot more low buys in the next 2 to 3 years as, people try to bounce back from the recession, job losses, obviously the prices of things costing so much right now. So I think we're going to see a lot more. I do think I am a bit of an optimist, even though the gap technically between the rich and the poor seems to be widening, and the wealth inequality seems to be bigger than ever. I am a big optimist, and I just really believe that whatever wealth is for you does differ. It differs from person to person, so you can't compare someone's wealth to somebody else's wealth, because what makes someone happy is different from what will make you happy. For example, if you're interested to know how you're going to thrive with the paycheck that you have, with the idea of wealth that you have, don't forget to check out my video on how to budget. This is what I follow myself. But yeah, it's been so fun talking to you like this. I loved it. Let me know if you like this format. Until next time.